All right, Clayton. What we're gonna do? I got my timer out. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying we have a time limit, but we don't want to do this. I like Rise of Skywalker. He doesn't. I'm okay with the new trilogy. He isn't. We've got two very, very, very different ends of the spectrum here. And we don't want to go on for a long time because we're tired and we've been doing a lot of stuff today. So I'm going to start this timer. We're going to keep an eye on how long we go. And hopefully we don't go over 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So we're going to start now and we'll talk about Rise of Skywalker.
Okay. So where are we starting talking about it?
Let's run down just what we thought of the previous movies. You're kind of with everybody else, and you know that they're trash.
Yeah.
And I see why people think they're trash, but I don't at the same time. I see why people don't like them, but I kind of everything that people don't like about it, I kind of agree with, but it doesn't bother me and it doesn't make me hate the movies. I enjoyed Force Awakens, although I think it's kind of lame. I think the humor isn't very good. Last Jedi takes that even further. Last Jedi is kind of more of the stuff I didn't like about Force Awakens, but more of the stuff I did, and then just more great stuff in general. So yeah. And then I think Rise of Skywalker is actually kind of my favorite of this new trilogy.
If I was picking a favorite, it would be Force Awakens.
I see that.
Force just Awakens. Because it's the most consistent of like a movie that knows what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
Even though like story-wise I disagree with a lot of what it did, because just having a new empire kind of makes a lot of the struggle of the previous trilogy kind of like obsolete when it's just like a new force is here anyway. But I would have been able to just move past that, be like, all right, fine, whatever. It's Disney wants a soft reboot, and then and then after that Last Jedi, they start getting into like solidifying, like, okay, and on top of the struggle being kind of pointless, all your old characters are also failures and they suck. And here's our new characters, but then the new characters didn't really do much in either movie to make me really like them. I kind of liked Finn and Poe in Force Awakens because there was something you could have done with the Stormtrooper and then like the Resistance guy who's like lifelong Resistance, and they kind of just sidelined it for the entire second movie. And then in Rise of Skywalker, it's like Poe Dameron, like he was also Han Solo when he was younger. He was a smuggler, and it was like, okay, that's random. And then Finn just like his arc every movie felt like it kind of restarted over and over. And then Rey was just kind of there using magic wizard abilities that
in this movie or in all the movies? Kind
of in all of them. Whenever it was convenient for her, she just like was able to use these magic wizard powers.
Okay. So I think Force Awakens is the most it has the best structure. I think Last Jedi, especially Last Jedi, and also Force Awakens is kind of all these movies are jumbled a little bit, okay? Force Awakens, in my opinion, Finn is set up, he's the stormtrooper, he turns good, and he has nothing to do after the first act. His arc happens in the first 5 minutes, and then he helps Poe escape, then he finds Rey. After that, he's just kind of there. Last Jedi gives him an arc. It kind of completes his arc of learning to not run and, fight. But he kind of already did that in Force Awakens. I appreciate them trying to make his character stronger in Last Jedi, but I've never really liked his character, honestly. I like him a lot more in Rise of Skywalker because he's not the butt of a joke. He's a little bit more competent. He's still sidelined. He's probably more sidelined in this movie than any other movie, but he's just more competent, and I think they use him better. Same with Poe. I think Poe in Last Jedi, he has an arc again, but it's just kind of a generic arc, learning to be a leader or something. And then in Force Awakens, he didn't do anything. He was just kind of, he was cool and fun in the beginning, but again, after the first act, it was just kind of, he was just kind of written back in. Apparently, he was supposed to die. I think Rey in this movie, in Rise of Skywalker, is not just like physically or in terms of power. I think her character's a lot stronger in this movie because of the arc of the previous movies. Now, before we started recording, we were having a little discussion where I was explaining the arcs that the characters have, and I was explaining Rey's arc, so I want to explain it here. In Force Awakens, her arc was kind of a generic accepting her destiny kind of thing, but it was based in her not wanting to become a part of this larger story because she is on Jakku waiting for her parents. She's waiting to find out who she is. She's waiting for someone else to tell her who she is and where she fits in this. But at the end of The Force Awakens, she catches the lightsaber. She learns to, she goes to find Luke. She's like, okay, I'm a part in this story. But in Last Jedi, she doesn't know where she fits. She's looking for it in Luke. And Kylo Ren actually tells her in Last Jedi her greatest weakness is looking for her parents or a parental figure in Han Solo, in Luke Skywalker. And then when she has a connection with Kylo, she goes to Kylo. Then when she takes the lightsaber away from him, she realizes that he is just down the wrong path. She accepts who she is. She accepts that she has to find out who she is for herself and not through her lineage. Then she takes the lightsaber, and that's pretty much the completion of her arc as far as looking for her parents. And then Rise of Skywalker, we find her, much like Luke, kind of in the beginning, she's much stronger, she's trained, and I just think in this movie she's more accepting of who she is, and she's just more powerful. Everybody calls her a Mary Sue. I'm sure you agree with that. I think she is really cool in this movie. I don't mind the Mary Sue-ness at all in this movie because it makes sense, because she's been training. Some things are like, okay, other Jedi didn't know how to do this. How does she?
By this point, I don't even care about that anymore. I just kind of given up on any of the Force powers making sense, because
this is one of my least favorite things about this new trilogy. The Force is used to stand in for bad writing, kind of just, the Force did this,
Yeah.
How in Force Awakens, how did they stumble upon Rey, and how was the Falcon there when Rey was there? How did Luke die in Last Jedi? The Force.
Yeah, but you're talking about her arc, things happen, and she has small developments, but overall, by the time we're at the beginning of the third movie, she's still around the same spot she started at in Force Awakens, where she's still, kind of an unsure nobody, because once she started getting hints in this movie about, you do have a real lineage, she kind of went back to where she was to start with, all right, I need to figure this out. We need to know who I am, what's happening.
Okay. I feel like I can't change your mind on this.
And someone the other characters, Poe was just Poe the entire way through. He kind of, Last Jedi kind of tried to do, a thing with him so he's not just a reckless pilot, make him a competent leader. But Rise of Skywalker kind of just disregards that, and he's just back to being, the pilot man until around the second half of the movie. He goes through the same little speech he got in Last Jedi again. It's not no one has a consistent growth. They kind of have growth at moments where it's good for the story of that movie, but the next movie, that's one step forward, two steps back, and then they redo it, because my biggest problem with Rise of Skywalker, that they didn't, and I think it's the entire sequel trilogy, they didn't just lean in one direction and go for it, whether it's nostalgia and look at these cool things, these old people that are teaching the new people, wow, it's so pretty. They didn't go that way, but they also didn't go the Rian Johnson way of everything sucks and deconstruction of Star Wars. They tried to backpedal it in the new movie here. Instead of just going full that way or full the other way, they try and balance it, which ruins both ends of it. Because even though I hate the Rian Johnson direction he tried to go, if they just leaned into it more that way and had this new movie be about evil Kylo Ren and
by the way, I think it's cool in this movie,
and beautiful light side Rey, and how they're this two sides of the Force battling, I would have been able to at least accept it and kind of see what they're doing. But instead they just tried to halfway step away from that he was going into, and then bring back the dead villain, and just so there's oh no, there is another big bad here for them to fight, and we can copy the Vader redemption arc. That's my biggest complaint with this movie, is that it's unsure of what it wants to be. So characters feel weird from where they were left off by the last filmmaker. The story's just made up. There's no continuation. There's Force Awakens, Last Jedi are a 2-part story at this point, and then this last one's just and a thing. That's my biggest complaint. Apart from the character stuff, and
I agree, and I wish everybody would stop hating Rian Johnson, and even the people, if there are any, who hate J.J. Abrams. the people that set out before these filmmakers came in and said, let's make a new trilogy, needed a plan, or at least needed the filmmakers to make a plan. There was no plan, and everybody says that, and I agree with that. I'm just not terribly angry about what we got, and I like a lot of the stuff that we got. I think there's a lot of great stuff in it. And like I said, I think the characters are at their strongest in Rise of Skywalker. I think J.J. Abrams understands them the best. I don't know,
they're better in his 2 movies compared to the 1 movie that he didn't make.
Okay, I kind of agree with that, even though I like what they did in Last Jedi. At the same time, it was... And I'm fine with Last Jedi. I just think there's some awkward things about it. I think the writing for the characters, it's... Like you said, I see what you're saying, where the arcs, they have an arc, and then the next movie they have kind of the same arc. I think Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, there's stuff there. There's stuff there. It's just... it just doesn't blend. And again, there was just no plan. I understand that.
Which also, the thing about Rise of Skywalker, it does feel like the middle and end of a story on its own. Yeah. You can... Maybe, apart from a couple of details, you can almost skip watching Last Jedi because JJ just goes back and does what he probably wanted to do, but, didn't because he didn't want to make the whole trilogy and kind of got forced into it anyway. Which leads to another terrible, terrible issue with this movie is the pacing is all over the place.
The first act bothers me. The first act really bothers me.
For the first,
it didn't bother me that much the second time I watched it.
30 to 40 minutes of this movie, it's like, especially on your first watch through, it's like things are just blasting. It's going nonstop until about halfway through it slows down a little bit because it gets to where it wants to be.
It bothered me a little bit the first viewing. It didn't bother me that much in the second viewing, but maybe it's because I just expected it more. I like just kind of the way it opens immediately with Kylo going to this planet Exegol and figuring out that Palpatine's back. I like the way it opened and stuff. It does feel rushed. And what's weird, and I kind of said this to you in a text, is like, yes, there was no plan. Yes, it's trying to do all these other things. But the first act is convoluted because they have to go find this thing and go find this thing. And none of the things they're doing is correcting the last movie. It's just the writing for this movie itself is go find this thing, go find this thing, go find this thing. None of it is trying to reset the last movies. It's just convoluted for the sake of itself.
When people were saying that, it's because like the resetting is kind of like the Finn and Rose thing. They just sideline Rose and Finn's back to just being the Finn that he was in the Force Awakens.
He's more confident in this movie. He's more confident in this movie.
Oh no, I'm just saying that's what the correcting is. Like they sidelined that character no one liked, and then they brought the trio together like it probably should have been.
But Rian Johnson couldn't have done anything about that because at the end of Force Awakens they split up.
Well, I mean, but there could have been a way to at least bring bring Finn and...
Okay, movie recording stopped automatically.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
When?
How soon? Well, the audio's kept going, so we'll just keep a frame.
Yeah, whatever. We'll just put a poorly drawn paint image.
Well, I just started it back so you can...
Okay, continue. We'll keep the audio going.
I just completely lost my train of thought.
Okay, so you were talking about Rose and how she was useless.
Oh, yeah. So... Yeah,
Brandon, watch that.
Because I was saying a thing about how the characters are better in Rise of Skywalker because the main trio are together, even though it feels forced, even though they didn't say exactly how long, but there's like some kind of time skip.
A year or two, something like that.
Yeah, and it's like now Rey, Poe, and Finn are like the dynamic trio.
And I like their interaction.
They work really well together. It just feels forced because in the other movies, the most we saw is like Finn is friends with both of them, but they didn't even I don't think Rey and Poe.
They didn't meet till the end of Last Jedi.
They didn't even meet each other. And when they did, it was just like Poe's like, "I'm glad this space wizard's saving me from death," and that was it. So their interactions are great. The actors are incredible, which is why I feel bad for them. Working for the sloppy material they've had, because they could have been, if they were written better, they could have been an amazing leading cast.
And I think everybody agrees Adam Driver is carrying the whole thing. His character, I think, is the most compelling.
Kylo was in all the movies, he might be the best character.
Yeah.
Because he's written best, even if his story's also kind of weird. He was written best, and best performed.
Yeah, like I said, like Finn was the butt of a joke. Like in Force Awakens, I thought Kylo was the most consistent character. Rey was just kind of, her personality didn't really shine through very much. Kylo was really unique. This young guy that wants to be like his grandfather. That's unique. That's interesting. And then in Last Jedi, stuff happens.
You know, another little like plot line that was completely dropped that was interesting from Force Awakens.
What?
Was the interaction between Finn and Kylo, and how Kylo was just really mad and disappointed that Finn would switch sides on
Traitor,
them.
yeah.
And then they like tease that Finn, even in that movie, I think at one point there's like a small hint that Finn might be Force sensitive.
Yeah.
In this movie, in Rise of Skywalker, they bring it back big, but never develop it at all.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like just another character thing that I was very disappointed in the middle movie, and this one that kind of just got dropped. Is like Finn and Kylo had some kind of connection, being First Order evil people, and then that was just kind of forgotten about. I don't know. It's just part of my problem with the whole trilogy, I guess, is cool ideas are brought up and then dropped because it's changing script writers.
Are you trying to come up through here? Okay. Are you here first?
I was going to do a project. I have to take a day photo, so I was wondering if I could take it while we were doing it.
The what
That's
photo?
fine.
I have to take a daily photo.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay.
Say things about the movie, because I'm just my overall
Okay.
problem with Rise of
Yeah.
Skywalker.
Okay. So we're on 16 minutes now. That's how long we've been recording.
It
so
don't matter. It's just how Lawrence said he wants it to be a podcast.
I don't want it to be, though. I don't want to just sit here and go off about it. I just kind of want to sum up my opinions, because that's the thing about Star Wars right now, and everybody already knows it, is that it's just whether you like it or hate it. It's just talking about it ain't the most fun thing. It's just been going on for too long. I can't agree with anybody on it, even if I find someone who likes this movie. There's always differing opinions.
I think it's just because you're more lenient on it than most people are. That's just what I was saying.
Because after watching A New Hope for recently, I just realized that Star Wars just doesn't need to be held to such a high standard. It really doesn't. I think people that are holding it to a high standard, all power to them.
Well, I'm not even holding it to that highest standard. I just wanted it to be, this new trilogy, to be consistent.
Yeah.
Because even within its, if you remove the context of the originals, which it tries to do on its own anyway,
this is still.
It's still just like three movies that are different pegs that don't quite fit into the hole they were made for.
See, I also think it's just kind of a combination of people that expected certain things out of the characters. I don't know. I just think over time, people won't be so up in arms about the issues they have with it. I don't know. I can't explain why. I guess I'm lenient. This is just my opinion. I don't get angry about these movies. They're just kind of fine to me. I don't think they're great, obviously. I think Empire Strikes Back, honestly, everything else, it's just Empire Strikes Back is up here, and the rest of Star Wars is just kind of down here somewhere.
It's a franchise built upon one amazing sequel.
Yeah, and then just kind of a cool world. I grew up with Clone Wars. I love Clone Wars. I just like the world. I like the look. I like the lore. And I'll just see anything Star Wars. So I'm watching this, and I'm just kind of happy with it. I enjoyed Rise of Skywalker. So sum up my opinions of it and things I liked, things I didn't like, just to kind of run through it. I thought the characters were at their strongest in Rise of Skywalker. I don't hate anything about it. There's a lot of spoilers that we haven't done that, honestly, if we go into a spoiler, we're just going to talk about it forever. Let's just say Palpatine being back. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was whatever. Palpatine, I said this to you in a message, Palpatine had as much presence as Snoke did. He's just kind of there. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't question it. Force crap, I don't like that the Force is being used, just kind of whatever. But what was JJ supposed to do, honestly? I think they could have made a really cool movie with just Rey and Kylo,
it would have been a way more interesting movie.
But everybody, so many people love that Palpatine came back, and so many people were interested in it because of that.
From what I saw, people liked the idea, and then when it happened, and it's just it wasn't explained, it was just he is back, and then he's gone. Then people turned on it. Because it's y'all didn't really.
And I love how he hasn't learned. This is kind of a spoiler, but doing it to himself. I love how he hasn't learned.
So, okay.
You want to go into spoilers?
Oh yeah, no, I'm about to.
All right.
So, apart from Palpatine returning, makes the whole Chosen One prophecy from the first 6 movies kind of weirdly pointless, and it makes Anakin's like, I'm gonna pick you up and throw you down a well to kill you sacrifice to save his son kind of pointless. But this is a very small thing, but I just laughed when I thought of it afterwards. So if only Mace Windu knew when he's holding Palpatine on that ledge. If only he knew. All he needed to do was just hold another lightsaber in front of him, and it would have worked. It would have killed the man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's such a... So bringing him back, bad idea. The way they kill him off for the second time was so stupid. Like, oh, so I just have to hold 2 lightsabers and go, and it'll kill him for good.
Third act is the weakest part. I don't like... Oh my god. Every Star Destroyer having a freaking...
See, that goes into, like... Because I didn't want...
Yes, Brandon, I know I peaked the mic.
We're doing this for... We're already going long. So, I didn't want to get into deep lore because it will go on forever, but every Star Destroyer having a Death Star laser...
It didn't need it.
In the lore of these 9 movies, that doesn't even make sense.
It didn't need it. It just have it be.
Yeah.
I don't even like. You don't even need a big fleet, but have the big fleet enough.
Also, how would he have a fleet that
Force.
massive of hidden
Force.
people?
Conjuring. He went back in time.
See, yeah, that's my biggest problem with sequel movies. Like, nothing makes sense with the lore, and then story-wise, if it doesn't make sense, they just go, it's the Force.
But
We
I
can
swear,
use the Force.
I swear, my biggest problems with Rise of Skywalker has nothing to do with the fact that there was no plan. In the context of Rise of Skywalker,
it doesn't make sense.
To correct the previous movies, whatever, which I don't think they did. They didn't have to. You didn't need all of the ships with all of the weapons.
Oh, yeah,
you didn't need the Sith Wayfinder and the other Sith Wayfinder, and they got to go to this planet, but they got to sink into this thing and then find this guy who had this dagger, and they have to go here to use this and that. That's just the Batman v Superman writer who wrote this movie, okay?
Yeah, who thought it was a good idea to hire Chris Terrio for anything?
You know what? I also feel like he's a really good writer and he works with terrible directors.
I don't even like to write that much.
I like J.J. Abrams. I don't think he's a terrible director. I think J.J. Abrams is a really good director. He has great ideas. Just
J.J. Abrams needs to quit trying to write.
Don't write. Direct. And this is another thing I want to say. He's, like, in Last Jedi, the best part was the confrontation between Luke and Kylo, and they didn't clash lightsabers at all, and that was great. The throne room scene...
I actually did think that was, like, a cool moment.
Yeah, the throne room scene was just kind of awkward. It didn't feel, you know? Lightsaber fights in this movie, I think JJ does action so well. I think the lightsaber fight at the end of Force Awakens, and the fight between Kylo and Rey, again, we're in spoilers, where they're going, like... where they're in completely different places, and they're fighting each other. That was so cool.
I just thought of a great inconsistency.
What?
Okay, so in Last Jedi, Kylo Ren has the hardest time on Earth fighting 6 little throne room guards, right? With someone helping him. Had the hardest time on Earth.
And he kicks Kylo, the Knights of Ren's butts?
Yeah, and then in this movie, the Knights of Ren, who are supposed to be other dark side users, he just kills them, whatever. Like, that's such...
Because he was at his least conflicted state. And I'm not BSing you. I actually am okay with that. He was... This whole trilogy, he's been conflicted. I'm okay with Rey beating him in Force Awakens because he had just killed his father and he got shot and it broke his spirit. I think when he finally becomes Ben Solo, he is at his least conflicted state and he kicked the Knights of Ren's butts. I wish they had been set up more. Do more things.
Also, that was another, like, wasted thing. They just realized, they're like, well, crap, Ryan didn't use this thing we teased. Just have them show up so it doesn't seem out of place. But then they don't do anything. They just show up and then they die. They show up, take Chewie prisoner, and then get killed. I thought there would at least be, like, a moment where he's like... Oh, well, actually, there was a moment where he literally looks at Rey, turns, these are my Knights of Ren. See them? And then they disappear for the entire movie till the 3rd act. Because that was right before they captured Chewie, and then they get him, and then they're gone.
That didn't bother me because, 1, that's just expectations for a cool thing, and 2, it's exactly what I expected. I didn't expect him to do anything.
Yeah. See, like, that just leads to, like, the whole problem. They didn't need to try and Honestly, as much as I hate the movies, they didn't need to try and fix what happened in the last one, even though people hate it. They didn't need to try and fix it. All they had to do...
They didn't.
Well, no, I know. That's what I'm saying. All they had to do... Didn't need to bring back Palpatine.
Tavion, be quiet! We're recording!
So, all they had to do was make...
Tavion! Tavion!
So, Kylo's character arc by the end of the last movie, before Rise of Skywalker, is he is embracing his tooth-snarling, spitting evilness now. So, all they had to do in this one was have Rey train with the light side, because she grabbed those books, and just become the most powerful Jedi she can be, even though she's always, in this movie, super emotional and angry, which is the opposite of a Jedi. They just should have had her the most light side Jedi she could be against Kylo, who's embraced his evilness, and his Knights of Ren.
I gotta restart it again.
Okay.
You know?
There it is.
Like, that's all they had to do, was just have Kylo and the Knights of Ren, who are super evil now, go up against light side Rey and her couple of friends in the Resistance. And it would have been fine. Instead, JJ's like frantically going, oh crap, I gotta fix it. So he's like, bring back Palpatine, and then they can fight him, and then Ben can be good, and then oh crap, Finn needs to do something. Finn meets this girl who has the exact same personality and character background as him, and Poe was also there. Like, didn't need to do any of that. It's a waste. You can't undo what came before. It happened, so you should have just stuck with it and tried to do something. Instead, they tried to like halfway ignore it, but they can't since it's what came before them, and it's just everything's a mess. It's jumbled. The editing was very bad. I'm pretty sure an old man had a stroke because that movie. Half the movie is flashing lights in your face.
Yeah, I took a picture. They had like a warning about the lights.
4 out of 10. It's Star Wars. Star Wars movies are dead. The Mandalorian's good. Hopefully Jon Favreau can save us. Insert picture of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and George Lucas somewhere in frame.
The picture of them on the Mandalorian set?
Yeah,
all together?
The picture I'm going to frame on my wall. Put a picture of Jar Jar Abrams in there too. If you look it up, you'll see the Photoshop. It's Jar Jar, but J.J. Abrams. Put that in here also. 4 out of 10. Sucked.
6 or 7.
7's too high. 7's too high.
I enjoyed
because
it.
once you get between 7 and 10, that's like really great filmmaking territory.
7 for me is just kind of I enjoyed it.
Okay, that's fair.
I give Solo a 7. I give Last Jedi a 7. I give Force Awakens a 7. They all get 7s.
Now that I've seen how they've wrapped up this thing, it really makes me appreciate Solo and Rogue One way more. Because
Solo's good.
They actually
Rogue One, ugh.
See, it makes me appreciate them more though, because they were just single movies that knew what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Regardless of how they're executed, you know? It makes me appreciate those more. After the nightmare I had to sit through.
Why are they all ideas and then just good stuff and then bad, like just...
That's the entire problem with these sequel trilogies is that each movie has a bunch of good ideas and they just don't have the first clue how to actually execute them.
Like Star Wars doesn't... It's so simple. Why is it so complicated? Like,
Yeah.
It's so easy to make a good Star... I'm not asking for another Empire Strikes Back. I'm asking for, like... You know Hell or High Water? It's
Yeah.
It's not anything great, but it's just a simple Western. It's got some good characters, some good tension and action, and, you know, it's not stellar, but it's good. Like, why not just make a good... simple movie in Star Wars?
See, this is the problem. When they made a movie for each half the fan base, and then the third one they tried to combine it, so no one's really that happy with it afterwards.
Again, I liked this movie, but all the problems I have with it, the problems I have with Hell or High Water is it was nothing incredible. The problems I have with Rise of Skywalker is just make a movie. Just make a movie. Just a movie. Just one movie. And they're making a trilogy now. 2022, 24, and 26. They're making a new trilogy.
Wait, no, they're not. I thought they stopped. I thought they literally just postponed movies. They literally said they were postponing.
This is a
What
thing.
do you mean? What? Why?
Okay, I'm just going to put on screen if I was correct or not because I'm not 100%,
Okay.
but I'm pretty sure that they're, yeah.
Do you think they're going to make a Disney Plus show about how this weird horsewoman is Lando's daughter? Because okay, real quick. You can cut this if you want,
We're on
but
half an hour.
you can cut this if you want, but why did J.J. Abrams write his only 2 original black characters to have the exact same backstory and personality? You know? I just thought that was a little odd. And then also, why is she teased to be Lando's daughter? Does that
What
matter?
was up with that scene? That was weird.
Is it just because...
That was a weird 20 seconds of the movie. That was weird.
In an earlier edit of the movie, which I know this doesn't count since the final edit's what we're reviewing, but in an earlier cut of the movie, at the end, Lando did just kind of name drop, hey, yeah, I had a kid stolen from me from this blah blah planet you said you were from.
Is this a real thing?
Yes. In the original cut of the movie, she was, at the end, they're just like, and she's Lando's daughter. Credits.
I like what's in the movie a lot more. Even though it's awkward.
Yeah.
I'm so happy they just did that.
Why did Rey bury Luke's lightsaber on Tatooine? He hated Tatooine. That's
true.
like, yeah, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take.
I mean, that's where it all started, you know. But I mean,
remember Tatooine? Remember Twin Sons?
No, I
remember
agree.
the Lars Holstein?
I agree. That felt tacked on.
Why would she bury the lightsaber anyway?
And I don't like. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Oh yeah, and also, why did she only like the Force Ghost? It was like, so the movie's called Rise of Skywalker. So at the end, when she looks at the Force Ghost, it's only Luke and Leia. Why didn't they just throw like Anakin in there? They brought him on set to record the footage that then they cut from the movie. Like,
yeah,
it's called Rise of Skywalker. You should have just shown the Skywalkers.
It's the same reason why older Anakin showing up in Return of the Jedi makes more sense, because Luke didn't know younger Anakin,
That's
so
true.
Rey doesn't know Anakin. Like, that wouldn't have had any significance to her. Luke and Leia, why she calls her...
But then at the scene when like all the ghosts are speaking to Rey, Anakin's like...
Because that's just all the Jedi. She probably didn't even know that was Anakin. That's just all the Jedi talking to her.
What he said was really stupid too.
Balance the Force as I did?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, if Palpatine was alive the whole time, you didn't bring balance to anything, retard. You have to bleep that. Your prophecy means nothing. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, it would have been okay if Kylo was like the main villain the whole time, like you said. Like,
It
that
would've
wouldn't
been-
feel like the Force was unbalanced. I felt like just a kid trying to unbalance it and be the new bad guy.
It would have been even cooler if when Rey sacrificed herself to kill the Emperor, if Kylo didn't kill himself to save her, if he's the one who survived, because then technically it is kind of Rise of Skywalker, because he went back to the light, but then he's like this shamed Skywalker who's like the last one left because this girl he tortured who loved him for some reason sacrificed herself for him. So the movie could have ended with him kind of weary about the future, but knowing I am now solo Skywalker Benjamin. I can bring myself back up.
Benjamin.
I can rise. I can rise. It would have made so much more sense if he survived. The title, Rise of Skywalker, would have made more sense.
I know you didn't intend for that to be that funny, but Benjamin Solo.
Because the
picture of
also,
Benjamin.
Rey's arc makes no sense. It's about her accepting who her family is by the end of the movie, but then she goes, "No, I'm a Skywalker."
That's why I think the ending was tacked on. The whole thing was tacked on. I think
the name of the movie doesn't even make sense with the plot.
I feel like that was tacked on. I'm serious. I feel like that was a studio thing where they're like, "No,
that was the plan the whole time." Actually, that was one of the things that didn't change. It was the end. She's like, "I'm a Skywalker." That's like whoever I hate most on this planet killing me, and then like going up to my family members and going, "I am one of you now."
See, bringing Palpatine back and making her a Palpatine doesn't screw with Rian Johnson's "Accept Who You Are." Saying she's a Skywalker means that she
saying Luke and Leia knew the whole time messes up what he said, what Rian Johnson did though, because it makes the character motivations in that movie even like weirder though, the way they acted to her, because if they knew they wouldn't have been so, like, maybe he would have refused to train her out of fear, sure, but like it just causes so many more problems, her being a Palpatine and then saying they knew. Like, oh, okay.
I still like the movie.
Just Do the ending. Let's end it.
Okay, I still like the movie. Maybe I'll watch all of them. I'll get this one on Blu-ray and I'll watch all of them.
I'm gonna tell my kids Star Wars ended at Return of the Jedi.
I don't like Return of the Jedi. I like these movies more than Return of the Jedi.
Return Joe better. I'm gonna tell my children that there's only 3 Star Wars movies.
I gotta do something.
What?
Hey, I'm doing this because Jared's not here.
What?
I want to play with Jar Jar in the bath.
Oh yeah. Oh, another thing about Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, Jesus.
They brought in George Lucas to re-edit the movie and shoot some new scenes for it to make more sense, right?
I
They
don't believe
showed
that in the
it-
slightest, but okay.
They showed it to a test audience, and the test audience scored the George Lucas cut better than the cut that got released. But then they threw it out and released the one that the test audience hated anyway.
I don't
and now
believe
everyone
that
hates
at
it.
all. I don't believe that at all. J.J. Abrams literally said there were no test audience screenings when people were saying there were. I don't believe it.
You sure?
Yes.
We know for a fact, okay, they might not have screened it to a test audience, but we know for a fact the George Lucas cut exists.
Okay. Okay.
And it's probably better.
Okay. We got... Yeah. Alright.
Alright. Don't watch the movie.
I mean...
That's it. Okay, end it for real.
Everybody...
Do an end card.
Everybody who's already, I mean, I don't know.
If you like flashing colors, watch it. If you don't like Star Wars, you're not watching this. Yeah.
Just watch Mandalorian.
Yeah, just watch Mandalorian.
Episode 7 of Mandalorian. We're going to talk... I want to do a video about Mandalorian, but I think episode 7 is, like, freaking great.
Yeah, just watch The Mandalorian. That's the only sequel to Return of the Jedi, actually.
I hope no one texted me while we were talking because it probably would have vibrated and
No,
the
I
sound
didn't.
would have picked up. Okay, yeah, no one would text me. Who would
It's
do that?
over. Cut the video here.